Hello guys, my name is Sharmin and today in this video we will be looking at one of the most strange and weird topics in CSS, that is floats. This is one of the most useful topics in CSS and this is one of the most important topics when you are learning CSS. So without wasting time, let's go to VS Code and see how we can use floats. Okay, so here I don't have anything fancy as such. We have an image and then I have a paragraph, then we have a red box, we have a paragraph again, and then a blue box. Okay, what we see over here, this is just very simple. Now let's start with floats, and also in my style sheet I have nothing fancy. I just have the red and the blue box height and width given with its background color. Okay, so now we can start with looking at what floats are. Okay, so let's start with this first image over here. So we have only one image in our entire HTML document, so let's just target it directly as an image. Okay, let me just scroll down so that you can see. Okay, so the image, if you give this a float of left, you save and we refresh. So can you see what just happened? Everything below it just went. We had the red box over here, right? We had a red box, we had a blue box, and then we had these two texts. So what happened is our first text got wrapped around our image, and then the second text also got wrapped around our image over here, right? And the red box and the blue box went below this, right? Can you see the red box anywhere else on the page? And there is no scroll bar as well over here, right? Which means it is below this. Okay, so this is what your float does. So if you give it a float of left, for example, and now what else we can do is now one more thing to notice over here is that if you have a div or anything else and it goes underneath it, but the text that won't go underneath your image or your div. Okay, it wraps around your div or image. Okay, so here for example, if we give our image some margin on the right hand side, for example we say margin right of 20 pixels and we save and we refresh over here, can you see the text is not going underneath it? We just give it a margin of 20 pixels and it is moving 20 pixels from our image. Okay, so this is how your float left works. Now similarly, instead of float left, if we give it a float of right, for example, let's see what happens. We save and we refresh. So can you see this moved to the right and all the other content got pushed up, right? But our text over here still doesn't go below our image. Okay, so always remember, our text will always wrap around, it won't go under your image or your div, right? So this is your float right, and always remember, after you float your elements, it is very important to clear, okay, to clear the space after it, or else there are times when it creates a lot of problem. So we saw float left and right. Now let's just erase these floats, and for example let's just try and make a small layout. Okay, so div, let's call this a class name main, and then we have another div with the class name of left, and let's have another div with the class name of right. Okay, and let this div have an image of, what images do we have? Okay, let's have c2.jpg, and let this one have a paragraph with some dummy text, for example 50 lines, and we refresh over here. Okay, so we have our cat over here, image of our cat, and we have our text over, here, right? And so our first div is left, right? So we take that, we take the class name of the div left and we give it a float of left, for example, we save and we refresh. So can you see our text wraps around our image? Okay, now for example, if we reduce the size of our image, you can see that more clearly. For example, we say we want the height of our image to be 100 pixels. So yeah, here we go. We have very little text, so you cannot see the difference very clearly. So let's just copy this down multiple times. Okay, so can you see how exactly it is wrapping around? Let's just zoom so that you can see things more clearly. Right, so here can you see this wraps around your image, right? It doesn't go underneath your image. So this is how your text works with your image or with the floats. This is really strange. I don't really know why this actually happens, like the text just wraps around and the divs go underneath. This is a strange topic, but yeah, it is what it is and it is how it works. Okay, so let's just remove this extra content. Okay, so yeah, we have this much of content. Now you want your entire content to float towards the right and we want our image to be on the left. Okay, so what we can do for that is we gave our image that is inside the div called left, okay, the class name of left. We gave it a float of left and we can give it a width as well of, for example, 30%, and we refresh. So can you see this will take 30% of the entire page. And the other div that we had was right, we had right, and let's say we can float this to right side. We save, we refresh. Can you see this just moved down? Why this just happened was it is taking a width of 100%. That's the reason it came on the next line. Now here we gave it a height of a width of 30%, right? So if we give this a width of 60%, for example, and we save, so can you see it just moved besides this, right? So this is how your float works. You can use floats with, you can use your float with a combination of widths. Okay, this really helps a lot. So yeah, let's just comment this out for now and let's try this with the things above it over here now. Okay, let's zoom out a little bit. Okay, so you want this image to be on the left, you want this content to be on the right, but you want these divs and these content to not move and stay where they are. Okay, so we will see how we can do that. For that we will use a property called clear both, clear right and clear left. Okay, you will always see people using floats and clears together. Okay, so yeah, let's see the class names of this. So let's give this image a float of left. Now this image, the one at the top, okay, this image over here, let's give it a class, because now we have two images in our document, and if we just give style to our image tag, then it will affect both of them, and we don't want that to happen. So let's give this a class of C1, say cat1 for example, and we start from over here. So dot C1, we say we want to float it in the left. We save, we refresh. Can you see we have both the paragraphs and everything moving behind it, right? So we don't want that to happen. So what we will do is we will float our C1 to the left and our paragraph which says yellow. So let's catch a paragraph and give it a float of right, for example. We save and we refresh. So can you see this moved to the right, properly to the right, but can you see the other two divs are not over here? Let's just inspect and see what exactly is happening over here so that you guys understand more clearly what exactly is happening. You have this image over here, and when you hover over this red, you can see where it is highlighting the red div. It's here on the top. Okay, just notice over here you will see a highlighted part, right? So that is where your red color div is and your blue color div is below it, right? So to not, if you don't want that to happen, then what you can do is you can give your yellow a clear of both. For example, we save and we refresh. There is no change right now, right? So what you need to do is you need to clear from your red. So we say clear both to our red and we refresh. So can you see we got our red and our blue divs below, right? Because we cleared everything that was around it using clear, the clear both property, right? So clear won't work with the element that you give float to. If you give clear to the same element, then it won't work. So this is how your clear works. It brought your div back to its original place, right? This div over here. Now if you didn't want to do that, if you didn't want to give it that div a class of, the class red, if you didn't want it to give a clear, then you could have had an empty div and with a class name of clear, for example, and you can define your class name over here and mention clear both. And if you remove this red of clear both, you save and you refresh, you get the same output, right? You saw there was no change. We just added an extra div over here with a class name of clear, and inside of that class name you say that clear from both the sides over here, right? Clear both. Now you can also say clear left, for example. We save, we refresh, you see it moved to the top. Now can you guess why this happened? We just cleared the left, okay? So this element is floating in the left, right? The image over here, you can see C1 was our image, right? It is floating to the left, but our clear says just clear the left, okay? Just clear the thing that is floating to the left. So that's the reason this red div didn't go under our any floating, like if there were any other things that are floating towards the left, then it would not go underneath those, but this is floating towards the right, right? The element over here, we have this yellow which floats towards the right, and this yellow class is given to our paragraph over here, right? It's floating towards the right, but our clear says just clear the left one, so it won't go underneath the one which is floating to the left, but it goes underneath our paragraph which is towards the float right, okay? And if in place of clear left you do a clear of right, for example, you save and you refresh, can you see what happened? It moved down, right? This, why is this happening? It's not going to something underneath. Now you might have a question that why isn't it going underneath this if we haven't cleared it? But what is happening over here is you are clearing the last element, right? So that's the reason it won't go, like it won't jump over this and then go to the first element, okay? That won't happen. So that's the reason it is not going behind this. We are clearing the right, and right is the element just above it, right? So, and there is no other element between these two which is floating. If there was an element that was floating, then this might have gone underneath that. Now for example, let's just do that and see so that you guys understand what I actually mean to say. So here, if we had another paragraph, okay, which had some dummy text, and we gave this a class of, for example, left, okay, we have this C1 floating towards the left, and just give this a class of left as well, okay? So both our elements will float towards the left. Now can you see what actually happened? We just cleared the right, correct, but we had an element between these two which was floating towards the left, so this element went below it, right? So you can use clear left or clear right according to your convenience, and if you want things to clear and you don't want things to mess up in the end, then I suggest give clear both every time, okay? So if there is any element floating towards the left or towards the right, it will clear both, okay? So if you give this a clear both and you refresh, you see this move to the next line, right? Now you might think that here we have this C1 floating towards the left, this yellow floating towards the right, then why did it move to the next line? I just told you that it takes up the entire width of your page, that's the reason it went to the next line, right? And you can also do float left to both of your elements, okay? You save and you refresh, this will do the same thing because it takes up all the space, right, on your page. And if you give it a width, then for example 50% to this one, and this one also, let's give it a width of, for example, 40%. We save and we refresh. So can you see these two elements, they are floating to the left, right, but still they came besides this image, right, because it's also floating to the left, this is also floating to the left. And as we saw, our text doesn't go under our image, right? So yeah, this is how floats actually work. This is really weird. I don't really understand why it works like this, but yeah, it is how it works. And floats is not a difficult topic, it is an easy topic, and you can create amazing layouts using floats. We do have grid, we have flex, we have many other ways to create layouts. They are way more easy. Yeah, they are, those ways are really easy, using a grid, using flex. Those ways are really easy to make layouts. But yeah, in floats I think we have a bit of, you know, more control over things, and you can adjust things as you want. But yeah, it depends on condition, like what exactly do you want, and there is where you have to identify what are you supposed to use. So that is all up to you, that what way, where do you use what. It's all up to you, whatever you feel comfortable with and you feel will be convenient and will be, you know, like suitable for this situation, then you can use that. There is no compulsion that for layouts you have to use grid, or you have to use flex, or you have to use floats only, or inline block. You can use anything that you are comfortable with. Just make sure that it fulfills your situation, and the thing that you have to do is made easily using whatever you are using. Okay, now for example, if you have a testimonial page or something and you want boxes over there, okay, just to display the testimonials of your clients or something like that. This is just an example. So for example, you have 10-15 blocks that you want, 3 columns, and you want 4-5 rows, for example. So in that case, I would say grid would be the best as per me. Okay, like for me, I would have used grid in such a situation. Okay, but now for example, if I had an image and a text one besides the other in any website design, I have to put those two things one besides the other, then I would prefer using a float. Maybe there is no problem, you can use flex as well, you can use anything that you wish to. But there are times that in some situations there is a difference, so accordingly you choose. If there is flex, if there is grid, it doesn't mean floats no more are in use. We use floats whenever we need, and there are times that you have to use float only, like not so much compulsion. But yeah, there are times when float is the easiest thing that you can do. So yeah, that's it for today. Hope you guys understood. And if you guys have any question, post them down in the comments below, or also you can DM me on Instagram. I answer there as well. So yeah, thank you so much guys for watching, and let's meet in the next video. And do subscribe to my channel. I'll be coming up with videos related to web development. And also, if you guys enjoyed this, then don't forget to drop a like. So yeah, thank you so much. Let's meet in the next video. Until then, bye guys.